Hey everybody, Brett Mix here from Ultra Wrestling 101, here to do the Monday Night Wars. This is the WCW side. Hit like and subscribe if you're enjoying these reviews. I love pumping them out for everyone. Nitro beat Raw for the 66th week in a row this week when we take a look at the ratings. The scores were 4.0 for WCW, for Nitro, and for Raw it was a 2.6. So Nitro won by a point difference of 1.4. So through 104 weeks in totality, Nitro has 85 wins, WWF has 17 wins, and there's 2 draws. So this is the winning week of Nitro, once again, week 104. This went live from the Philadelphia Spectrum in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, November the 3rd, 1997. We first see a shot of the last week where Sting went to take care of the NWO. Then we get Pyros in the Nitro entrance package by Tenay Zbyszko and Schiavone. Dean Malenko and Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio Jr. and Steven Regal. 4 of the greatest small wrestlers with a technical, scientific style and aerial specialists in this one Nitro match to kick things off in the ring. Mysterio with an Oklahoma roll after a standing switch, as Malenko and Rey have such great chemistry towards each other. Eddie tagged in, but Malenko, not that he wanted it, but he tied it into Regal as he got up to the ropes, and an RJ takedown by Regal, and Eddie sucks chant from the crowd. Hurricane Rana to his own partner by mistake. Eddie then powerbombs Rey down. Guerrero looking for the frog splash, but tagged himself in as he got the cloverleaf on. In the end, Dean Malenko and Eddie Guerrero were victorious after the Texas cloverleaf, while Eddie looked at him confused as he wanted to be the one to put his opponent away via frog splash, but he only got in the victory due to the Texas cloverleaf. Great match. Wish it could have been more double given the time who was involved, but I still give it 3 stars. Next up, we have Dave Taylor taking on Fit Finlay. Dave Taylor with an armbar, but paid no attention as there was a distraction in the arena and no one really could figure out what. Fit Finlay press slammed by Taylor into the gut breaker, then a switch midair, which was impressive. Finlay hit a tombstone, and that's it. 3/4 of a star I gave that match as Fit Finlay comes away with the victory. Another impressive Nitro star coming up with wins is Yuji Nagata. He has Sonny Ono in his corner as he takes on Psychosis. Psychosis and Nagata have been unlucky otherwise in wins, has Nagata with Sonny Ono by his side. Psychosis hurt his own hip that is, trying a guillotine leg drop, a senton from the apron to the floor. Nagata gets Psychosis down on the canvas floor and applies a reverse chinlock. Nagata with a kick to the spine and a reverse chinlock before some stomps. Psychosis leveled with a major powerbomb. Psychosis with a spinning heel kick. He got kicked by Ono and then a belly-to-belly suplex. Psychosis down for the Nagata lock. A standing figure 4, then applies the leg to Psychosis, which applies pressure to the kneecap. Nagata got another impressive win here over Psychosis. This time he wrestled an intelligent match. I rated it 2 stars and a quarter as Yuji Nagata remains red hot on WCW Nitro. They play a vignette on Raven in this dark room as he sits back in the dark talking about a dream that he can't replace, ending it with, quote, the Raven, nevermore, as he continues to quote Edgar Allan Poe. Saturn with Raven takes on the Disco Inferno for the TV championship. Saturn's in-ring Nitro debut as the crowd chanted EC Dub as he went to work on the Disco Inferno. This was a technical match for a guy you expect to maybe mix it up with hardcore matches. And a hard Irish whip to the Disco Inferno, who German suplexed Saturn, and then all of a sudden the rings of Saturn was applied for the submission victory, and we have a new television champion in Perry Saturn. I gave the match a star and 3/4. Mean Gene then says, join me as I welcome 13-time heavyweight champion Ric Flair. Flair says he will be the Lindros and you'll be the Yager. For Philly fans, that is the tough star hockey player Eric Lindros versus the evil European player who was on a rival team like the Pittsburgh Penguins and Jaromir Jagr. This happened back in the 90s. Mean Gene asks if Flair can be a 14-time champ one day after World War III and eliminating Hennig first. He says Hennig and him for life. Nitro Girls Dance while Schiavone talked about Sting and Hollywood Hogan taking place at Starrcade on December the 28th, 97. Chris Jericho then took on Scott Hall. Jericho slapped around by Hall like he's some jobber, as that's what Hall used to do with the jobbers on the early days of Monday Night Raw. Hall in control for the most part. He catches Jericho in the midair, and then he catches a fallaway slam. Hall talks trash to the camera and then goes outside for the outsider's edge, but Jericho reversed it into an inside cradle. Another upset over Hall. That's like the 1-2-3 Kid, Hector Garza, and now Jericho. All 3 guys with rookie feels beating the well-established Scott Hall. So 3 upsets in a row there over Scott Hall. I gave the match 2 stars. After the match, Hall attacks Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho then got an outsider's edge for his trouble, beating the NWO. Fans chant Larry, Larry. Zbyszko wants to walk to the ring with a contract. Larry Zbyszko walks to the ring and says, "You haven't signed on the dotted line," to Scott Hall, as he keeps putting it off. Cyclope versus Damien versus El Dandy versus Juventud Guerrera versus Lismark Jr. versus Silver King versus Villano 4 versus Villano 5. Battle Royal ultimately ended in a no contest. Half of these guys have been on the odd Nitro episode here and there. Maybe they'd average of Nitro maybe once every 3 weeks in appearance. It was every man for themselves, but after a variation of moves, the Giant comes in and previews the next pay-per-view, World War III, and chokeslams everybody, tossing them out of the ring. The Giant was the winner last year, and he's coming back to win the World War III event again this year. The winner gets a title shot at Super Brawl the next year of World War III, the 60-man Battle Royal that the Giant is a favorite in. Ric Flair then takes on Alex Wright, who has his new manager, Queen Deborah, in his corner. Ever since the NWO vs. WCW war started, we have witnessed anything like Sting Hogan, says Shivani. Shivani mentions the big man and will be back next week, as in Kevin Nash. And then they say the real big man is the Giant on WCW side. Wright with the belly-to-belly suplex. Wright scores a near fall against Flair. Flair in control hits a vertical suplex, send the figure four. Flair wins in the end after putting the figure four leg lock on Wright. Gave it a star and 3/4. Steve McMichael took on Ray Traylor, big men, both of them full of power and mass. McMichael sets Traylor into the corner where there's tackle grips, shoulder tackles, football tackles, followed by running lariats, clotheslines. Ray Traylor with the kick to McMichael's legs, Rick rammed against the ring post. Traylor takes out the back of McMichael. Goldberg then walks to the ring as the fans cheer. Traylor wins the match after a sidewalk slam, and all Goldberg did was look on somebody he had beef with earlier in the night. They do a promo with Mean Gene and DDP now. Kimberly comes out and shows the diamond, and DDP comes out and shows the bang. He says Halloween Havoc was the highest grossing event of 97. Well, it did get 405,000 buys, and it was definitely the highest grossing pay-per-view that year, and maybe ever in the WCW era, but we all know that Sting and Hogan at the Starrcade would draw the most, and we'll get to that later. DDP comes out talking about how he is, if he was another competitor, he'd be worried, very worried about DDP. The Steiners brothers took on the Public Enemy in a Philadelphia street fight for the Tag Team Championship. This is pretty wild and out there. Johnny Grunge and Rocco Rock against Rick and Scott Steiners. In the end, the match got more violent with tables breaking on the outside. The Steiners retained the tag gold in the end after a move inside the ring. Just violence, but a quick brawl. I give the match 2 stars and a quarter. Next up, we had Curt Hennig defending the U.S. title against Lex Luger. Hennig says Hennig got the Michael Buffer intro rather. And main events his 5th Nitro in, say, the last 6-7 weeks. Hennig goes for a race suplex, and the two wrestled each other at WrestleMania 9 back in the day as the Narcissist and the Mr. Perfect. So they have the rematch here in WCW by their real names. Well, not Lex Luger, not the real name, but Curt Hennig is. Curt Hennig with the hard knife edge chops to Hennig in the corner. Luger runs out of the other corner with a running lariat to Hennig. Hennig chokes out Lex on the top rope. A rolling snapmare takeover by Luger, which scored a close count. It's Luger sticking in the match despite having control on him. Hennig chops a lot out of Lex, but in the end, Hennig wins by DQ in the end because Ric Flair ran out and drops a ride to Hennig as the bell rings. I give the Hennig-Luger match 2 stars and a quarter. That does it for the wrestling portion of this week's Nitro. After the match, Luger went for a rack as Flair chopped away at Hennig. Flair chasing him out, and him and Luger were chasing him down into the entrance aisle into the very back. They did end the show with this as Flair and Luger were both chasing Hennig to the back by the stage, and that's when Shivani said, "You know what? We're going out of way, folks. We have no more time left." Speaking of no more time left, I do have time to rate this show, and that's a 7 out of 10 because it had some quality matches in the opener, but the problem was when a match gets going and they're just starting to get good, that's when they kind of hit the off button a little bit early in the match, and it would have been way better if these matches got time to breathe. Wasn't a huge night for the NWO like others. There wasn't the Hogan, Sting, or Nash showing up, but there was still enough star power, and there was a lot happening in the NWO, and there's just something about 1997 Nitros that make them good even if they're bad. So 7 out of 10, I feel, is the perfect rating for this week's Nitro. Next week is the huge one because it happens after Montreal, so stay tuned for that week's Nitro. This is week 104. I'm Brett Mix. Hit like and subscribe if you're enjoying the reviews, and I'm out.